porn, I think it can be so damaging because the internet is forever, and the acts are a lot more extreme than what you're gonna find, at a bar and with a regular civilian guy, right? Like, there's some girls that do acts that are just not good for your body, and it's almost like who can be the most extreme or like the dirtiest slut, because in some way that's commendable in that industry. So it gives you a level of prestige. Like, I'm the dirtiest, I'm the most extreme, I'm the baddest, like I have no limits. And to me, I think that's so dangerous. I imagine
sometimes they cloak it under, I'm actually super sex positive.
Right.
So then it's healthy.
Can't shame me.
That's right.
And then I've had people say this, and they're like, you can't shame this whore. And I'm like, and it's funny, but in such a sad way, because I would call out this behavior because some of it would be unsafe. It's like, if you're going to go out there and sleep with all of these people untested and come back to the industry, like, fuck you, because you're putting other people's health at risk. You can't do that.
And the partners of those partners,
right?
Of your scene partners.
Right. And so many of them are married or in some kind of mostly monogamous relationships, which is pretty shocking.
When I dated a sex worker, I had to trust that all of that was happening, so that when my partner came home and we were intimate, I had to trust that I was being protected.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's a level of just recklessness that I just couldn't get behind. And to me, it's a trauma response. And then more often than not, years after people would get out, they would just have this revelation, like, man, I really didn't want to do those scenes. And how awful, because some of them, again, are really traumatizing, like really, really traumatizing. So have you worked with helping people kind of take off these masks or these shells that they've convinced themselves that they are, to help them establish healthy boundaries? Because I know porn is an outlying example, but a lot of people are participating in hookup culture. And if they don't have a strong ethos or these are my boundaries before they participate, they're going to get hurt.
Yeah. Wow, there's so much in what you just said. That was really powerful. Do I work with people in and out in those ways? Yeah, there's this concept in clinical psychology called differentiation, and it's someone's ability to, in the face of this other, set boundaries and not have a reflected sense of worth, not people please, not try to be approved. And even though some of those individuals on the surface seem like they're very differentiated because they're saying no one's going to shame me, in fact, it's very much driven by an attempt to get approval and to get a reflected back sense of worth, because I'm the baddest of them all. I'm the dirtiest, right? And so it's really about getting deeper and starting to define it as such. And I think that's important work for all of us, because, again, as I said earlier, most people move through the world conformist, doing what everyone else is doing, or authoritarian. I'm doing what I think I'm supposed to do. And I think mental health is about stepping outside of that, understanding what our boundaries are and our limits are, stepping into our anxiety and setting those boundaries when needed, looking at impact in the short term and in the long term. And I think that shifts and has an impact in diverse ways, especially for people in the industry. Because as you said, that lives forever. There's no taking some of that stuff back. And even if you could, what's the internal ongoing impact that you have on looking back at having done some of those things?
Yeah. And that's why, I'm a big proponent of raising the age of entry for film. I think it should be 25. And I know
what
that
is
sounds
now?
18.
18's a very young, it's such a cliche, but it's true. Your brain and your, neofrontal cortex and all of that, your judgment, all that isn't fully online until around 24, 25.
And men, they're saying now 30.
I believe that. And so at 18, to be tasked with making decisions that you can't take back, I think is an unfair pressure to maybe put on someone. You can't even drink alcohol at 18.
Or get cigarettes now.
Yeah, right?
Cigarettes are 21.
Do you get pushback when people hear you say that about raising
because
age?
they use their story and they're fine, and I would challenge a lot of them, like, are you really? And because there's a lot of user bias, like you're looking for ways that your decision was right.
Okay.
I've got in a little bit later. I think I was 21, which was still young, and it's at that age you are so easily influenced by fame and money and power and prestige and all of these things that I don't think that you can make an honest decision with a lot of things, because all these influences are so heavy. And then you're also put in situations where you might be the only female and there's 20 other people on set, and I, as a very disagreeable, strong woman, have been put in situations that were really hard for me, but I held my ground. But that I saw all these other women not be able to do it, and they'd be like, well, if you don't do this act exactly this way, or if you don't make this face, or if you don't sleep with all of these guys, it was only supposed to be one, but now there's 3, crew doesn't get paid. And then they put that pressure, and like that's a lot for an 18-year-old.
Sure.
A lot.
Yeah.
Especially when it's all men, you know?
Yeah, because someone at 18 is not, as I was saying earlier, differentiated, able to go up against and not people please and not perform for this imaginary audience and all that. Yeah, I think that's a really interesting concept. You have my support.
Yeah. I don't know how that changes, but yeah.
And
I'm
even
not a
for
fan.
those that maybe did enter at a younger age and didn't have a negative impact, that doesn't mean that that's going to be true for everyone.
Exactly, right? And you can't just use your
That's right.
story as like this is the model
That's right.
for everybody.